a minute. This movie's not a giallo. Hold on. Let's begin. Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and giallo enthusiasts, or spaghetti western enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for The King and Giallo, and this is the first unscripted movie review I'm doing that's not a giallo, not giallo adjacent, not anything that has to do with giallo, unless you count that it is a spaghetti western directed by Luigi Bazzoni, who did giallo films such as The Possessed, The Fifth Chord, and Footprints on the Moon. This is Man, Pride, Vengeance, starring Franco Nero, Tina Aumont, I don't know if I'm going to be saying that name correctly, and Klaus Kinsky. Well, Klaus Kinsky, it's more like featuring. So I finished this movie like 3 minutes ago, and let's get right into it. So what I will say about this movie is this is a spaghetti western, like I've said, very different, and that's very interesting to me because I've seen now 4 Luigi Bazzoni films, and I've mentioned this about his giallo films, is that despite the fact that he is directing within this genre film landscape, this is, giallo is a genre film. Spaghetti western, it's heavily what you would call a genre film. I mean, obviously everything is a genre, but these particular movies fall under this category of movies that are looked down upon as, oh, those are genre films. And what he does that I admire and what is so interesting is that he's able to direct within this little culture, this medium that has cliches and has tropes that the audience comes to expect. And he's able to do them, but also deliver his own unique spin to them. It's not so much as being subversive, like some directors, like Tarantino can be subversive. He'll direct a western, but he'll do something different with it, or he'll flip it on its head. It's not so much flipping it on its head, but it's absolutely doing something different with it, doing something unique with it. And what I've gathered from this movie, about this movie, is that it is an adaptation of the novella Carmen by Prosper Mérimée. Again, not the best with some of these pronunciations. But anyways, so Carmen has a number of adaptations in film and beyond, which is interesting because the movie is also called With Django Comes Death. And depending on who you ask, the whole rabbit hole of Django films can be anywhere between 30 to 85 plus films that either bear the name Django, whether they have anything to do with Django or not. Most of them don't. Most of them are money grab, cash grab, cash in, pseudo sequels. This movie has nothing to do with Django. They literally just slapped that title on mostly for the German release. The main thing that it has to do with Django is that they both star Franco Nero. And that's basically it. Another thing that this spaghetti western does that is very unique that I haven't seen anywhere near as many spaghetti westerns as I've seen giallo films. But what it does that I have not seen before, I'm not saying it's only been done here, I'm pretty sure it's been done other times, but I'm just going to assume this is rare. It's actually set in Europe. It's set in Spain. And there's a big plot point about trying to get money so that they can get to America, start a new life. But yeah, the movie is actually in Spain. And it took me a hot second to catch that. And then I was like, oh, wait, we're not even in America. It was funny because the opening has this chase scene going on with no context. And you're seeing Franco Nero running from the law, it seems, in this mountainous desert landscape. And I was thinking, it's so funny how these spaghetti westerns are all set in America or Mexico. And beyond the fact that it's desert, it doesn't look like America. It doesn't look like the American Southwest, doesn't look like Mexico. And in this one, it actually is justified because it's not there. So I thought that was kind of a, like, shut up, Tanner. That was interesting. So yeah, I will talk about this movie. I will go a little bit into the plot. I won't give too much. I'm not trying to do spoilers for this, but I will give you at least a good chunk of what the movie is about without getting too into the nitty gritty. First, let me just talk about the some of the cast. So Franco Nero, in terms of, well, he's been in a good amount of spaghetti westerns. I mean, his career basically took off by playing Django. Django was 1966. This movie came out in late December of 67, and already at that time, there's been close to, maybe not totaling, but around 10 or a dozen Django sequels. A lot of them were like late 66 or 67, and this is at the tail end of 67, and so, you know, it got in there. But funny enough, like I said, unless you're watching the German one where they do call him Django, it has nothing to do with Django. It also has, again, I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, Tina Aumont. In terms, I mean, she was in, what was she in? What was the big one she was in? The one that made her, Modesty Blasé. She was also in terms of Giallo, she was also in Torso. And that's it, I want to say. Torso. And then we have Klaus Kinsky, who's also been in a lot of spaghetti westerns. And in terms of Giallo, the main one that I will point to is Double Face. He's also in Slaughter Hotel. He's also in, well, I'll be honest, he's been in a few. But I think Double Face is the bigger one. This one also has Franco Ressel in it. And Franco Ressel has been in over 120 films, I think. So he's been probably been in more spaghetti westerns and been in more Giallo films than everybody else. But there's also Lee Burton, who's been in a lot of spaghetti westerns. But, okay, so in a nutshell. Oh, also, I'll say this. I have not read the novella Carmen. I haven't seen any other adaptations, at least not that I believe. So I'm not too familiar with that book's plot, and so I can't really speak on the similarities or how faithful it is. Well, I guess it is an adaptation, but whatever. Anyway, so I won't be able to speak on those elements of it. I do know some things about it, but it's mostly what I've been able to glean. It's not actually like in-depth research. But Man, Pride, and Vengeance, which should be called Man, Love, and Despair, or With Django Comes Obsession, follows this character played by Franco Nero, whose name is Don José, and he is a Spanish guard, or he's a Spanish policeman? I don't know exactly what his rank is, but he meets this woman named Carmen, and he kind of takes a liking to her, and then not too long after that, she gets into trouble. Apparently, she stabbed a woman who called her a gypsy, and so he's supposed to escort her to the police station, and he gets distracted at one point, and she escapes. And so now he's in trouble for letting her escape, and so he gets demoted, and now he's a guard, like just a straight-up guard, like, you know, nothing special about what he's doing. And she runs into him again, and is kind of like, oh, yeah, sorry about what happened, and he's just like, yeah, you look what you've done to me. And through the course of talking, these bandits or whatever basically sneak in and cause havoc, and now he's in trouble again. And so he clearly likes her, and every time he has a run-in with her, bad stuff kind of happens to him. As it goes on, he then goes to he develops a relationship with her. I believe he makes love with her already at this point, and so he's in love. And he goes to meet her at some point, and I think this is at a brothel, and he kind of pushes his way in to like the room she was in, and he discovers that she was sleeping with his colonel, or no, his lieutenant. Not that it makes a big difference. His lieutenant, who was played by Franco Ressel. And the guy is trying to tell him, like, stand down. Like, you're a soldier. You listen to me. And he explodes, and he ends up killing him. And so now he's a fugitive. Now he has to run away. And he ends up in this gang of bandits that are all kind of have a connection with Carmen. There's a loose affiliation. And while he's there, like, camped out with them, he meets her husband, who has been in prison for a while, and then recently has been released. And this guy is played by Klaus Kinsky. And they have hatched a plan where Carmen has been now messing around with this other guy, this rich guy, and she finds out that he's going to be transferring a bunch of money from where he is to a bank or something, and so they know the route he's going to take, and it's going through the mountains. It's funny, the area kind of reminded me of Fury Road. There's a part where they go through these mountains and they cause like an avalanche, like a to block the road. And the same thing kind of happens. Like, the plan is, Franco Nero's plan is, we'll use dynamite to blow up the sides of the mountain and cause like a, landslide to block the road. And then we'll take the stagecoach. And that way we can do the robbery without committing murder. Because if we commit murder, it's going to actually bring the law down on us way, way harder. And if we get caught, it'd be way worse for us. Better to do it with no violence. And Klaus Kinsky is like, that's dumb. So this is getting a little into spoilery. This is at least just telling you what's going on. Again, this is still like the first half. The guy rides through. They had already blocked off the road. They tell him like, "Oh no, you can't go through here. There's a landslide. I think it might be an ambush." And the guy's like, "You show me what's going on." And as he gets out, Klaus Kinsky pops out from like behind and like hiding in the mountains, or behind a rock, steals the stagecoach, rides it off, and then the guys are giving chase to him, but they're also in on it. So it's more of this illusion that like, hey, you come back here, but really they're part of it. And they ride like maybe half a mile away, and they immediately go through the stagecoach, pull out the little chest full of money or gold or whatever it is, and they put it on another horse, it's like a mini stagecoach. Move it onto this new thing. They put another chest with nothing in it hide it up, make it look like, if he wants to look, he'll say, "Oh, there's still a chest in there," but he'd have to actually open it up. Anyways, and then they ride off with that, and the guys who were chasing him now take it back, and they're like, "Oh, we got it. We scared him away. We got everything back. Everything's fine." And so that's how they make off with the money. And so things should be going well, but from that point on, drama kind of begins to happen between, I almost said Django, with Franco Nero and Klaus Kinsky. The husband it's not so much that he doesn't trust him because like, "Oh, you had relations with my wife." It's more of that he doesn't want to share any of the money. And this is the money that they're going to be using to get to America. But anyways, with Franco Nero's character, he's in a very rough spot because he's realizing that Carmen has been using men to kind of get what she wants. And so at a point, he's feeling more and more compelled to confront her. And so I won't give away what goes on there, but it's like, is he going to confront her? How is he going to handle it if he does? Will this even work out for him? Will it backfire? How will this backfire? Will they live happily ever after? Will they get to America? What will happen? And so what I'll say about this movie, I did enjoy it. It is similar to The Possessed going into it, insofar as it's very different from the conventional movies within the genre that it is playing in. It definitely does very different things. It's mostly using the genre as like dressing, but beyond that, it's way more focused on the characters. And I'll say Franco Nero's character, there's a very sympathetic tone that it's looking at him. Like, he's basically getting caught up in this crazy, not conspiracy, but just, I don't know, string of happenings. And he starts out in a good place. And as the movie goes on, it's like his life is kind of falling apart. But there's always the hope at the end that, he's going towards this dream of being able to leave Europe and go to America, where land of opportunity. He can reinvent himself. He can have a new life for himself. So it's more similar to, and again, I haven't seen all of Luigi Bazzoni's films, but Franco Nero was in his 1971 Giallo the Fifth Chord, which probably maybe his best movie, but he's more similar to the character in The Possessed. And it's this kind of down on his luck guy who, he's also down on his luck in The Fifth Chord, but the main thing that they have going together is this seemingly ill-fated obsession, this love towards this woman. and this drive towards her. This becomes the driving force in these men's lives now. And both films have a very sympathetic view towards these men. Not to say that they demonize the women. It's just, this is life. This is an unfortunate, sometimes there's going to, not everyone's going to have their way. And at least that's not to say what happens in the end. That's certainly the tone going for a lot of the movie. Is a lot of people are just victims of circumstances. It's not necessarily someone ruined their life. It's kind of like, well, maybe, it takes two. You kind of are taking this upon yourself. In the Possessed. It's like no one's forcing you to go to this town to take on this investigation. You decided that for yourself. So for Bazzoni and his genre films, again, they're so smart. They're less focused on the more exciting, thrilling aspects. It's like this movie is not very actiony. It does have its moments, but it's not very actiony. Funny enough, I was just gonna say that his Giallo films also they're not really like scary. Giallo. I do think Giallo is not really a scary genre. However, funny enough, I contradict myself here. The Fifth Chord has that scene that I talk about in the finale, which I think is the scariest scene in Giallo films. Like it's just directed to perfection. But yeah, it's a competent movie, very, very well made. Vittorio Storaro is also part of the cinematography. Who did do the music? Carlo Rusticelli. What did he do? Oh, he did Blood and Black Lace. Did he? Yeah. Wow. Okay. That looks like that's the main one. That's okay, cool. So there's a lot of Giallo ties, but that's also just working in Italian cinema. Yeah, no. Yeah, so I'll say it's kind of hard to recommend this to Giallo fans, but if you are a fan of Luigi Bazzoni's Giallo films, The Possessed, The Fifth Chord, Footprints on the Moon, check it out. It'd be a great movie to watch. Just you've already kind of seen the arc of his films. It just kind of makes it a little bit more full. You can kind of see, you've already seen what his filmmaking, what his storytelling is like, and he did co-write this. So you get a little bit more of a bigger picture of him. If you're a fan of Franco Nero, go ahead and check it out. His voice is the voice you do hear in all of his stuff. It's funny because Django, it's the most different. It's a different voice. But if you've seen The Mercenary, you've seen The Fifth Chord, you've seen some of the other spaghetti westerns he was in, it's that voice, which I think is Franco Nero. I don't know. But yeah. Spaghetti western fans, check it out. Like I said, it's the one thing you just have to kind of think about going into it is it's not so stereotypically spaghetti western. It's completely different setting. It's in Europe, which is so interesting. I had read somebody say that this was like a western by way of Dostoevsky, and like I haven't read a whole lot of Dostoevsky, but I get where that comparison is being drawn from. Like, yeah, it's way more of a human drama. It's way more about the human experience and the human condition, and I appreciate it for that. But yes, don't go into it thinking this is Sergio Leone or Sergio Corbucci, or even like Duccio Cesare type, western. But it's very good. It's still very good. It's just different. It's different, I'll say that. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. This is Man, Pride, and Vengeance. Once again, my copy was a Blu-ray from Blue Underground, which, by the way, what's going on with Blue Underground? They don't seem to be out of business, but they also don't seem to be like making as much videos as they used to. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. Hope you liked the hat. Woo! This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.
Who are those two?
One's a man from my village, name of Miguel. The other one's Garcia, Carmen's husband.
Carmen is what?